So when you don't put clear rules around transportation, what ends up happening is you argue back and forth. You send 45 messages back and forth to each other on OFW or Talking Parents or App Close or on text. And you talk about, no, you're the one that's supposed to pick up. Well, I picked up last time. Now you deliver it and you do it and you come to my driveway. And you just argue back and forth when it's not mentioned in your parenting plan. All right, in today's episode, we are going to cover yet again another parenting plan mistake. A lot of attorneys are leaving off this whole clause of transportation. Who is picking up and who is doing drop-offs? And if we know anything about high conflict people, they only want to do it when it's convenient for them. Otherwise, you are going to be spending a boatload of money on some gas. So make sure you pay attention to today's episode so you don't miss any of those finer details that your parenting plan could be missing. If we're going to stick with all of the clauses that we had talked about in previous episodes, this is one that while I don't see it as one of the top 5, I do see it as really time consuming and one that puts a kink in the hose a lot. And it's transportation. This is one where I think a lot of things get assumed in a parenting plan that's written by Larry. And again, Larry is going to be that lawyer that's going to do a half-assed job for me just so I have to keep calling him back. And transportation clauses are really important, especially in those situations where high conflict exists. We can't assume that two parties are going to agree on the transportation of the children back and forth. Now, logically, the kids have to be picked up and the kids have to be dropped off. But it's amazing to me in doing this for so long how many people fight about that very question. So this needs to be a whole portion in your parenting plan. Now, a lot of parenting plans that I've read that are written by Larry's say things like, parents will agree on transportation. Parents will agree or determine later who will be the pickup person and who will be the drop-off person. Now, I see so many mistakes in just that comment alone. Am I picking up from your house? Am I picking up directly from school? Am I picking up directly from the extracurricular? These are all questions I start to have. But when I first get that parenting plan back from my attorney, from the court system, I'm so excited. I'm so excited because I'm divorced and I don't really read it. And even if I skim over it and I'm like, okay, transportation was included, I'm good. But are you? But are you good? Because the clauses inside of that portion are really going to determine later fights around the holidays. They're going to determine later fights before and after your vacations. So it's really critical that we go into some details. Because when you leave it just as that, parents will later determine who will be the pickup and who will be the drop-off, or parties will later agree on transportation. Parties will later agree the location of drop-off and pickup, especially in those long-distance situations. And I'm just here to tell you, no, I'm not going to later determine. I am not going to later figure it out with my ex on where we are going to pick up and drop off. To me, if we reverse engineer this, I mean, I'm not, again, you guys, I'm a mom that's certified in this, but logic prevails in this. If I go backwards a little bit into an earlier episode where we talked exclusively about pickup time and drop off time, when is your visitation? That paragraph about when visitation is, when holidays are, should coincide with transportation. So if it says that I have the kids till 8 a.m., shouldn't the logical next sentence be, where do I take them or who picks them up? I mean, it's just like completing the whole circle. And when you don't include transportation, the circle's still open. And when we leave a circle open, you know what we got to do? We either got to spend more money to talk to our attorney, or I have to work with my ex, or third option, I let my ex control my every move and tell me what to do. So when you don't put clear rules around transportation, what ends up happening is you argue back and forth. You send 45 messages back and forth to each other on OFW or Talking Parents or App Close or on text. And you talk about, no, you're the one that's supposed to pick up. Well, I picked up last time. Now you deliver it and you do it and you come to my driveway and you pick, and you just argue back and forth when it's not mentioned in your parenting plan. And so it's critical that you do this, because if you don't have the transportation part listed, it could lead to missed exchanges with no consequences, because there was nothing determined on where you were actually picking up. There was nothing determined on exactly what time you were supposed to be there to pick up. And then you could be the one that's in trouble because You didn't show up for the exchange. You didn't go to the right location part for the exchange because nothing was listed. So late pickups, this is a popular one. Late pickups are used as leverage to make you watch the kids all day. And what I mean by that is let's assume that there's no school on a random Tuesday because of a teacher institute. And if you don't have transportation on who was going to pick the kids up because there's no school, we're going to argue about that and end up landing on the kids will just stay with you all day. So you have to take the day off work. And then that person, the other parent, will want you to deliver them to them as if you are a bus after school delivering the children to their house. So this can cause arguments all the time about those weird days of sick kids or no school or holidays. Because I'm just going to give you a little bit of tip here on when you're building your parenting plan, whether my team does it for you or you do it yourself. One thing that you have to account for are those three things. What if your children are sick? Okay, we're not taking them to school to be picked up. What if your kids have an institute day or it's summertime and there is no school? We have to constantly be thinking about what if the schedule changes just a smidge for an emergency or even a planned event like summer break or institute days, but I can't use the school as the third party location to do the exchange, meaning I take the kids to school and then my ex picks them up from school. We have to account in our parenting plan for the transportation of the days when those things happen. Sick kids happen all the time. So does that mean I deliver a sick kid or is the other parent coming to pick up the sick kid? Your parenting plan needs to mention this. And the amount of parenting plans that I read that don't talk about where is insane to me. You mean, again, Larry, that two people that had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to get this divorce are somehow going to both bump their heads on the same week and time and come together and be able to conclude where they should do this exchange at? Because most people don't want to do the exchanges at their own homes. And some people want to do them at the police station, which I could go on a rant about that. I think that's ludicrous and we shouldn't be doing that. It takes away from resources unless, asterisk, you have a domestic violence case. I think we should be picking public places that have a lot of Karens and a lot of cameras, like Target or public gas stations to do our exchanges if we're not doing them home to home. But that's just me. Been doing this a long time, seen a lot of things, and I know how kids feel about it. But we have to pick a location if we're not going to do door to door. And I'm going to take it a step further, especially in high conflict cases. It's sad, but true. We have to have something written down that you don't get to come in my house. I'm sorry. When you're here to pick up the kids, you stay in your vehicle and I'll bring them out to the porch and then they can walk that 3 or 4 feet. And if they're of an age where they can't walk that 3 or 4 feet, I will walk them to your vehicle. You will not step onto my property and you will wait in your vehicle patiently and I will bring them out on time. Again, these are finer point details in high conflict that we need to be including. And if we don't mention a transportation section, then we are leaving it up to, again, an argument between the two of you. We're leaving it up to the attorneys to discuss and cost you more money. Or one parent ends up always being the transportation parent, the parent that goes back and forth, picks up and drops off, picks up and drops off on every occasion because the other parent doesn't say I have to do it. So transportation can be tied to a lot of control and not logistics. Then I want you to think about that holiday time. You're celebrating Christmas. Maybe it's the 25th, and somehow you have to do an exchange because you didn't listen to my holiday episode, but you're doing some exchange at a random 2:00 on a Thanksgiving or a Christmas or a birthday or something like that. Are you leaving the holiday to go take your kids somewhere, or is your ex coming and knocking on your door at said holiday to pick the children up? It's something so small, such a small detail, but it cuts down on so many arguments, so many back and forth, so many unnecessary conversations. And then the kids get involved in extreme high conflict. And they said, well, mom said you should do this. And then dad says that you have to do this. And last time he was the one. And then she said she did it 2 times in a row. Our kids should not be in those conversations. So inside of your parenting plan, it's critical that you include a transportation section. I want you including who's dropping off and who's picking up. I want you to include a location. And sad but true, I want you to talk about conduct at the exchange. How are we acting? Where are we located during this exchange? Are we staying in our vehicles? I have seen so many videos on social media of parents fighting in parking lots, holding on to children in their arms with a camera in their other one, because otherwise, how did I find it? How did I see this video? And the arguing back and forth and the, no, you come get them. No, you bring them to my car. No, you come get. And it's like a pissing match of egos going on in a parking lot with children standing there and absorbing all of it. So please consider what this paragraph should look like for you and your family, because it's a lot of it that you wouldn't think this needs to be included. You think this would be common sense. You think this would be logical to just, oh, well, if you have the kids, bring them to me. I can tell you right now, your ex is going to say, well, yeah, you have the kids, you bring them to me. Or, hey, I want to come to your house and pick up the kids. I want to be in your property. I want to go see what you have going on. I want to come to your house and see what's in the driveway, see who's there, see what boxes you have outside. And again, you may be listening to this thinking, wow, that sounds a little extreme. That's who high conflict people are. They want to be on your property, looking around and snooping around so they can, be paranoid and crazy and make you an obsession. That's what they love to do. So be thinking logically about what you want to include in this transportation section, because it could be the smallest little thing that you forget that causes tremendous fights later. If you want to understand what actually should be written into a parenting plan about this transportation section and not have it vague, which is going to lead to money being spent with attorneys or a whole bunch of gas, then let my team help you. Go ahead and take that masterclass and listen to how I talk about all this transportation stuff being covered. But if you want to take it a step further and have my team actually design this paragraph and the rest of your parenting plan for you, then actually take advantage of the link below. I don't want you to be stuck in a high conflict situation later that could have been fixed now.